Et siin on siis töötuba, kus räägitakse ennetustööst ja tõenduspõhistest sekkumistest. Et meil on siin ka esimeses otsas nii-öelda 3 ettekannet. Ja annaks siis sõna nüüd esmalt Anniki Tikerpuule, kes siis selle töötoa esimese ettekande sisse juhatab. Palun.
Tere kõigile ja vabandan selle viivituse pärast, et loodetavasti nüüd saame siis kenasti alustada ja tänane töötuba keskendub siis eelkõige laste ja perede valdkonnas tehtavale ennetustööle, laste riskide ennetamiseks ja töötuba sisse juhatada. Kõigepealt meil on 2 ettekandjat täna. Meil on Paul-Christian Bergström, kes peale mind annab ülevaate tõenduspõhiste praktikate rakendamistest Norras ja sellest ka, kuidas siis reaalselt tõenduspõhiseid praktikaid laste ja noorteni ja peredeni viia. Ja peale seda on meil Willi Toremorg, professor Tromsø ülikoolist, kes siis tutvustab Norra kogemust ja väljakutseid vanemlusprogrammide rakendamisel ja laiemalt tõenduspõhiste sekkumiste rakendamise väljakutsetest. Ja loodetavasti saame siis ka soovitusi Eestile, kui me oleme samamoodi võtnud suuna tõenduspõhiseid sekkumisega Eesti laste ja peredega tehtavas töös rohkem rakendama hakata, et mis oleks siis need olulised näpunäiteid Norra kogemuste poolelt meile. Ja enne, kui me läheme ettekannete juurde ainult põgusalt ja sissejuhatavalt veel kord sellest, mis puudutab üldkonteksti ja raamistikku riskilaste ja noorte programmi osas, et millises kontekstis me siis praegu nendest teemadest ka räägime. Et ühelt poolt meie programmi üldpõhimõtted riskide ennetamisel on ühelt poolt tõesti see, et sekkuda tuleb võimalikult vara ja enne kahjude tekitamist ja probleemide ennetamine on odavam ja tulemuslikum. Teisalt on hästi oluline kvaliteedi aspekt, ehk siis me peame pakkuma lastele ja peredele neid sekkumise teenuseid, mille puhul me saame olla kindlad, et need töötavad ja et see on eetiline pakkuda haavatavatele gruppidele ja lastele neid tegevusi, mis tõesti toodavad tulemust ja mille tulemuslikkuses me saame olla kindlad. Ja valdkondade ülene koostöö, millest ka täna hommikupoole päris palju räägiti ja mida rõhutasid ka kõik ministrid, on hästi oluline komponent. Me ei saa lapse probleeme lahendada iga sektori eraldi, seda peab tegema integreeritult ja koostöös. Ja hästi oluline on see, et selleks oleksid ka reaalsed formaalsed mehhanismid, kuidas siis seda koostööd teha. Et ainult isiklike suhete ja hea koostöö soovi pealt ei jää asjad püsima. Strateegiline raamistik viskan ainult teile korraks kiirelt ette, et hästi oluline on teada, mis on see raam, mille sees me liigume õiguslikust aspektist. On tähtis, et me peame täitma kõikide riikide ÜRO lapseõiguste konventsiooni, kes on sellega liitunud, aga meil on olulised strateegilised dokumendid, mis on seadnud põhimõteteks efektiivne töö laste ja noortega. Ja meil on praegu 2 olulist seadust Eestis väljatöötamisel, mis annavad ka väga olulise mõju kõigele sellele, mida me praegu oleme tegemas, ehk siis lastekaitseseadus ja alaealiste mõjutusvahendite seadus, mis siis otseselt toovad sisse nii ennetuse sekkumise mõisteid, kui ka räägivad juba sellest, kuidas siis tulemuslikumalt senisest teha tööd nende laste ja noortega, kes võivad sattuda riski. Madis Lepajõe varasemalt juba tutvustas programmi päris põhjalikult ja lähedalt, nii et ma programmi ennast tutvustama ei hakka. Praegune töötuba keskendub rohkem sellele, mis puudutab Sotsiaalministeeriumi poolt koordineeritavaid tegevusi selle programmi raames, tõenduspõhised sekkumised, ennetamaks riske lastele ja sealhulgas vanemlust toetavad sekkumised ning milline see toetav süsteem tervikuna võiks olla, kuidas rakendada seda ennetust siis reaalselt ja kuidas koordineerida siis seda erinevate sektorite tööd, et me ei jätaks ühtegi last tähelepanuta või ükski laps ei satuks süsteemi hammasrataste vahele. Eeldefineeritud projekt selle programmi raames on üks selline juba ette otsustatud tegevuste kogume, mille puhul me teame juba, mida me teeme, et see on erisus teiste ministeeriumide tegevustega, kes teevad enamasti avatud taotlusvoorusid ja pakuvad projektikonkursse, et meie teeme oma tööd selles mõttes ise koos Justiitsministeeriumiga, et me koostame ühiselt koos erinevate teiste ministeeriumite ja partneritega kontseptsiooni sellest, milline peaks olema meil kogu süsteem, tugisüsteem laste ja noorte riskide ennetamiseks, mis on need praegused kitsaskohad, millised on lahendamist vajavad olukorrad ja milliseid sekkumisi meil on ka juurde vaja, mis meil on hetkel puudu, et saada tervikpilt ja kogu nägemus sellest, mis meil hetkel on ja kuhu me siis liigume. Ja oluline on see, et selle eeldefineeritud projekti raames me plaanime rakendada 2 tõenduspõhist programmi. Üks on siis tõenduspõhine vanemlusprogramm ja teine on käitumisprobleemidega noortele mõeldud sekkumisprogramm, ehk siis nendele noortele, kes on juba seadusega pahuksisse läinud. Viimasena lihtsalt infoks, kuna see küsimus võib tõusta teie seas ka praktilise poole pealt, kui täna siin hakkame ka vanemlusprogrammidest rääkima, et vanemlusprogrammi Eestis rakendamine on üks konkreetne plaan ja suund, mille me oleme võtnud ja erinevad tegevused, mida me siis oleme kavandanud selleks, et seda vanemlusprogrammi rakendada, et ühelt poolt esimene samm on see, et me teeme programmi valiku alusanalüüsi, programm ei ole veel valitud, et tuleb hinnata ära ka see baastase, mis on meie laste ja meie vanemate vajadused, millele siis milline programm kõige paremini vastata võiks. Ja peale seda, kui programmi valik on tehtud tõenäoliselt selle aasta sügiseks, hakkame siis valmistama ette struktuure, kes hakkavad programmi rakendama. Me peame tegelema selle programmi adapteerimisega, mis on üks loomulik osa programmi rakendamisest, koolitama koolitajaid, lapsevanemaid ja väga oluline mahukas osa kogu sellest tegevusest on ka erinevad mõju-uuringud sellest, kas ja kuivõrd siis see programm reaalselt siis Eestis töötab. Tänases töötoas pärast ettekandeid oleme püstitanud ka mõned diskussiooni teemad, mida siis hiljem käsitleda. Nende juurde tuleme diskussiooni juures tagasi, ehk siis arutada see, kuivõrd siis me reaalselt suudame tõenduspõhiseid praktikaid rakendada, mis on see meie riskid ja väljakutsed nende Eestisse toomisel ja kuidas siis senisest enam koordineeritult teha tööd teaduse praktika ja poliitika kujundamise ühendamiseks. Ja diskussiooni voorus on teil võimalik tõsta küsimusi, kommentaare, diskussiooni teemasid, mis on vajalikud just nende tegevuste veelgi paremaks Eestis teostamiseks. Nii et kõik mõtted, murekohad, valupunktid, mis teil on või ettepanekud on hästi teretulnud. Aga selleni me jõuame siis veidi hiljem. Ajakavast on nüüd nii, et meil on planeeritud ettekandeid kuskil kokku 1–1,5, oleme paindlikud, meie lõppaeg on 4:30, vahepeal teeme väikese pausi, aga ma loodan, et te olete nõus sellega, et oleme ajakavas paindlikud ja anname piisavalt aega nii ettekanneteks, küsimusteks kui siis pärast ka aruteluks, et proovime siis selliselt toime tulla. Tõnu commented with a feedback sheet what is need to be filled, so that was the comment. Okei, ühesõnaga siit me saame jätkata ja ma kutsun siia Paul-Christian Bergströmi, kes räägib meile siis lähemalt tõenduspõhistest sekkumistest, mis on kasutusel Norras ja kuidas siis seda rakendust siis reaalselt tagada. Tõnu, kas sa saad aidata selle? Ja ma unustasin veel öelda, et me oleme palunud hea kolleegi Hanna Vsevjovi tänasest töötoast ka kokkuvõtte tegema, et töötu lõpus siis Hanna võtab kokku selle, mis me oleme siin nii kuulnud kui diskussioonis üles tõusnud, et see kokkuvõtte tehakse ka pärast kõigile kättesaadavaks, ka neile siis, kes täna osaleda ei saanud.
I will try it. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, good. Then I will try to give you an overview over the use of evidence-based programs in child welfare services, particularly in Norway. And if I have the time, I will say something about an implementation program of evidence-based programs in the Barents region, covering northern Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia as well. I'll see if I have the time for that. But I will go into some of the programs we use in Norway that are evidence-based or that we are conducting research on and trying to evidence-base as we go in Norway. I will take a look at the history of implementing evidence-based programs. Where did we start? What has been the road up to today? What have been the challenges? What kind of organizational structures did we build to enhance the use of choices of evidence-based interventions in Norway, and what are the lessons learned on the way from basically 1997 up to today that could serve as a background for a discussion on the CR program here in Estonia. So that would be the contents of my presentation here today. I would like to start out where I ended the last presentation, the star of quality, directing development of competence, building of competence, use of methods in Norwegian child welfare services. We use them because this is integrated in the organizational structure, and we are measured on the use of evidence-based program, whether they are effective or not in Norwegian child welfare services on state, regional level. This will probably also be applied to local level and municipal child welfare services as well. Some important milestones on the road up to today when we talk about evidence-based practices in Norway. It started, we had a turning point in 1997 where a national strategy were developed for implementation of evidence-based practices, for quality assurance systems, and for research on the effect of these programs in Norway. In 2004, I have spoken about this before, we had an organizational reform also done to improve competence and dissemination of evidence-based programs in especially state regional services, specialized services. One of the objectives of the reform in Bufetat on specialized level in 2011 was also to increase the use of evidence-based programs, both on state level but also on local level in child welfare. And I will say something about how the new Child Welfare Act intends to increase the use of evidence-based programs, and what discussions we are now in Norway on how do we operationalize the Child Welfare Act into concrete actions leading to improved quality in services provided on local level and on regional state level. In 1997, the Ministry of Children and Equality decided to arrange a conference in Norway on the topic of behavioral problems and evidence-based programs, attending those challenges, both on prevention topics, but also treatment of these children and youth, both in family services and in institutions. An organizational and strategical approach was needed on national level, and a National Center for Child Behavioral Development was in the planning and was established as a result of this effort in the ministry. Why the ministry addressed this topic and started out in a strategy for implementing and dissemination of evidence-based programs. We had a huge increase in number of children and youth with behavioral problems and detected behavioral problems in Norway throughout the 1990s. We had an increase in out-of-home placements, children and youth taken away from their families, and most of them placed in institutions for a shorter or longer period before eventually maybe placed in a foster home. The term of stay in institutions were rather long. We could, in some cases, youth were living and were raised in institutions. We were talking about 5, 6, 7 year stay in institutions. And we had very few documented effect treatment cases for youth exiting these institutions. There was also a huge variety in ownership structures, organization of institutional care, the competence, both the percentage of professionals with competence on evidence-based programs and the treatment models that were applied in those institutions. So this was a solid case for change in Norway and for a national grip to develop a vertical in the system run and led by the ministry to implement and increase the use of effective interventions. After this conference, where a lot of programs were presented by international researchers and program owners, decisions were made, selections were made on implementing and trying out some of these programs in Norway. Some of them had to be adapted to Norwegian surroundings and legislation and organizational structures. The decisions a decision was made on implementing the Incredible Years. You will hear more about that later on from Willy Tore, who has been responsible for this on a national level in Norway. Parent Management Training Oregon model. This is also a positive parenting program. And multisystemic therapy. These 3 evidence-based programs with empirical support from United States were selected for implementation and research, adaptation and research in Norway. As we have moved on, other evidence-based programs have also been implemented in Norwegian child welfare services on different levels, in different structures, in different volumes, and with different quality assurance systems. So there has been some varieties in strategies for implementation when it comes to these programs taken into use in Norway. Family group conferences, I think you all know the concept. It's not a treatment model, it's a model for decision making in the family. For user involvement and detecting of resources in the family to improve life conditions and development for the child, preferably in its own family. International Child Development Program has been taken into use basically on municipal level. The Incredible Years program was implemented through the Norwegian Directorate for Health and the regional centers for children and youth mental health and well-being, both on regional level and in municipal child welfare services. Parent management training and multisystemic therapy was implemented through the establishment of a national center for child development in Norway. Answering directly to the Ministry of Children and Equality and the University of Oslo. This was an important step in the first step we took in an implementation strategy for programs to establish a national competence center with the responsibility to serve as a purveyor of competence and program implementation towards service level organizations, both on regional level and on local level. So with this National Center for Child Development, a vertical was established in Norway, supporting implementation of evidence-based programs. Eventually, we have taken PRIDE into use. It's an evidence-based program for recruitment, training, and follow-up of foster homes, foster parents. And for treatment within institutions, we have taken into use aggression replacement training, motivational interviews. We are in the process of developing a program with evidence support in Norway directed towards youth with, in conflict with the law and serious behavioral problems. It's called Multifunk, and cognitive behavioral therapy. Most of these programs have been imported from the United States. When a decision was made that we need to be more effective in the way we treat children and youth, we need to have documentation systems, we need to have proper evaluation of what we are doing, we decided to import those programs because they already were developed and had empirical support. What we had to do was to adapt them to Norwegian frame conditions. For instance, multisystemic therapy, it's a team of 4 therapists working in the family with youth between the age of 13 and 18 with serious behavioral problems, in conflict with the law, with drug problems, school dropout. In the United States, this is a program that is connected to the juvenile justice system, where you actually are sentenced to go through a rehabilitation program. We don't have that legislation in Norway. It's voluntary according to the Child Welfare Act. So we had to make some adaptations of it to implement and do research on this in Norway. It takes a long time to develop an evidence-based program. We could have done this in Norway. It would have taken many years to complete a process of evidence-basing programs directed towards children and youth in different risk situations. When we were looking for a treatment model for young offenders in conflict with the law, with serious behavioral problems in institutions, we did not find that in the international community. So we started out developing a program by ourselves called Multifunk. And I will say something about the process, evidence-basing this model. The decision was made in 1998 or 1999 to assemble all elements, do an analysis, a meta-analysis of effective interventions in institutions throughout the Western world. It was assembled and published in a book in 2003. We opened 5 model institutions in 2005. And we have been running these institutions since 2005, conducting research since 2009. It will be concluded at the end of 2015. By that time, we will, through a system of evaluation of this program, decide whether this should be implemented on an ordinary basis or not. So it takes a long time to develop these kind of programs by ourselves. This is why we took the shortcut for most of these, meeting children and youth's needs as fast as possible, but in a secure fashion. In 1997, when the decision was made to start doing this in a systematic way on national level, a national strategy was developed in 5 points. It consists of a long-term funding of program implementation, both on regional and local services. By that time, it was on county level. So services that provided evidence-based programs from 1997 up to 2004, when we had the ownership reform, was done by the county and county level. I will get back to that. The second point was to establish a national center to coordinate policy, practice, and research on all those selected programs, receiving funding from a national, over the state budget. A practitioner recruitment strategy was developed, both for regional and local level. What do we need? What kind of competence do we need? How do we attract those people? How do we recruit them? How do we train them? And how do we stabilize them in these services? A comprehensive therapist practitioner training, supervision, and maintenance program for all those 3 first programs was developed. But the implementation strategies for this have varied some. So you will hear more about the Incredible Years program and the implementation history of Incredible Years in Norway. But this was a prerequisite for selection of these particular programs back in 1997, 1998. And there should be state funding of research on child and adolescent behavioral change and the implementation quality. This has been conducted both by the National Center for Child Development and Regional Competence Center under the ownership of the universities and the National Health Directorate. But a structure where the initiative came from the ministry, a regional level serving as purveyors of competence and programs to the local level, with research attached to it. This was the strategy developed after the conference in 1997. When we came to 2004, we saw that the dissemination of these programs and the competence building, especially in local services, but also in county level, did not go as fast as was intended. This was part of the decision background for an ownership reform, transferring the responsibility from the counties, 19 counties, to 5 regional child welfare organizations. Both providing services, but also to have a responsibility for competence building in local child welfare services. Some of the objectives with this reform was to reinforce the vertical that was established and first established after 1997. It was to increase the use of evidence-based programs in state regional services particularly, and act as a purveyor of these programs towards local child welfare from state regional service, to increase the use of these programs more rapidly. One of the actions taken to achieve those goals with the reform was establishment of consultation teams. And I know that this is a topic for discussion and in the planning in the Estonian CR program. So here the Norwegian experiences are particularly important, I think. What have been the results from establishing 26 consultation teams to secure the interaction between regional level, national level, regional level, and the municipalities and local child welfare services. When it comes to responsibilities for the consultation teams, you can divide that into 3 different tasks in Norway. First of all, the consultation teams are supposed to provide consultation to municipalities, local child welfare in complex cases, especially when they conduct investigations that is pointing towards a care order and to place the child outside of the family. This is not something that a child welfare worker in a small municipality meeting that kind of case every 3rd year, 4th year, or even more seldom have high competence in. So these consultation teams are supposed to provide high level of quality consultation to especially small municipalities in very complex cases. The second task for the consultation teams is, and this is a part of the Child Welfare Act, this is an obligation we have by law, to receive applications from local municipalities, local child welfare, when they have decided and concluded in a child welfare case, they send it over to the consultation team, which make a selection for the actual placement of a child. They help to find the particular foster home or the particular place in an institution to place the child. This is not a responsibility for the municipalities. The municipalities decide, they conduct the investigation, decide whether the child should have a foster home or an institutional placement, if they are not providing in-family assistance. The third task for the consultation teams is the most difficult one, and here we have some experiences, lessons learned that might be useful to look at in the development of services in Estonia. The consultation teams were given the task to assist in competence building and increase the use of evidence-based programs on local level, to endorse child welfare services on local level, to take into use effective interventions, and to act as mediators from a national level, either the National Center for Child Development or in cooperation with other regional competence units, to actually assist local municipalities in implementing evidence-based programs. So you can see these are assignments in one consultation team that could really pervert the communication and a healthy, equal communication between the levels, the local level and the regional level. And the new Child Welfare Act is addressing this and is changing now the tasks for consultation teams in Norway. And there have to be a cross-professional competence represented in the teams with both child welfare workers, pedagogues, and psychologists. Of course, we have recruitment challenges in small, in more rural areas to recruit enough psychologists or even pedagogues to these consultation teams. Is this clear so far, the division of responsibility and how this structure is made to support the objective of implement evidence-based programs and disseminate them. This is a process in a Norwegian child welfare case, where the local child welfare workers receive a report. They have by law 1 week to decide whether they close the case or they open an investigation, because the children in the family are at risk to some degree. If they open an investigation, they have 3 months to conduct an investigation and to make a decision by law on what interventions are to be put into action in the actual family, serving the needs of each individual child. The Bufetat consultation teams are in communication with child welfare workers on municipal level if they request it. It is not something we can intervene in the investigative process on local level. With this task, we are obliged to give that consultation if local level asks for consultation in a single case. But if the consultation team, if you arrange competence building and dissemination of evidence-based program the way we try to do it, giving this assignment to the consultation team in addition to provide assistance to child welfare workers on an equal basis, that is a really complex communication situation. And the evaluation of the reform from 2004 have shown that local municipalities are not pleased with this way of organizing the role of purveyor of evidence-based program or competence building, or trying to increase the use of evidence-based programs at local level. To mix these assignments is not easy. This is a picture of how services is provided to families or children in Norway. The blue square today would represent different kind of services provided by local level municipalities. And the triangle would represent what services and programs are provided by state, regional, specialized services. And as you can see, the higher up in the triangle, the more specialized the programs and the services provided are. And we have a huge area here where both state, regional services and municipal services in very various degrees, because the municipalities differ so much in size and level of competence and quality, and whether you have implemented evidence-based programs or not. Some large municipalities can move very high up in the triangle on specialized services and have the competence to do that, while smaller municipalities are taking care of what the law is giving them as a responsibility, and not more than that. The gray zone between municipal and state regional services is addressed in the new Child Welfare Act, and a clearer distinction between these are now an objective for development of child welfare services in Norway. The question is, how do we actually build capacity and competence and quality in child welfare services on local level to meet the objectives of the Welfare Act to increase quality in both assessment, investigations, and interventions for children and youth. How do we operationalize that in Norway? The evaluation of this structure that we have today with 5 regions and 428 municipalities trying to interact in this way to develop competence is that we have had a moderately increase in use of evidence-based programs. We have cooperation challenges between the levels. It's an unclear distinction of responsibilities, and we don't move forward in a common direction between local and specialized level. This underlines the need for a national professional directorate with responsibility for quality improvement and competence building, both on local level and on state regional level. So the new Child Welfare Act addresses these challenges. And with the new principle on support for positive development, that means challenging the biological principle. That means that local child welfare workers must have competence to conduct assessments, investigations, and assess the potential for the parents to provide positive support for a child in the future as fast as possible. And if they don't have that potential, they should remove the child from the family as soon as possible and into a service that is effective according to each individual child's needs. That gives us a new major challenge. It is to improve quality in the assessment, use of standardized assessment tools for establishing the needs of the child, the family situation, the network around the child and the parents, the potential for providing adequate care and support, and to build effective in-family interventions on local level. These are the main challenges in child welfare services today, addressed by the Child Welfare Act. There are some actions taken in Norway to improve this situation. In the Act, the role of the consultation teams are now going to be changed. So if we go back to the assignments today in the consultation teams, and there are 300 positions in the consultation teams throughout Norway today, we will have to reorganize this, because task number 3, competence building and use of evidence-based programs on local level, we have to organize this interaction with local municipalities in another way than we have done since 2004. And we are now in discussions and looking for new structures to actually operationalize this in a most effective way. What will be left as a task for consultation teams is task number 2. It is to receive applications and select the actual placement in a highly specialized and differentiated state-level services, whether it's in a foster home or in an institution. That is our task's assignment by law. The consultation to municipalities in complex cases will also be removed from the consultation teams, and over a 3-year period to come. Over that 3-year period, we will try to build competence and quality in local child welfare services to be able to conduct assessments, investigations, and effective selection of effective interventions on local level, and to handle that task by themselves. But I think it's important to add here that the evaluation of the reform clearly states that in the development phase that Norwegian child welfare have been in, it has been very important, and a lot of good work have been done by the consultation teams through this process of developing services on local level. But now we need to attend capacity and quality issues on local level in another way. So the consultation teams will be reorganized, and the assignment will change. There will be established a national directorate for child welfare services in general, covering both development and provision of services on local level and on state regional level, so that we can develop in one common direction. Up to now, it has been the situation that we have on regional level are endorsing municipalities to take evidence-based programs into use and to engage in competence building programs, but the municipalities can by themselves select whatever intervention they would like. By law, they can still do that, but the emphasis on increasing quality through developing safety requirements for child welfare services also on local level will assist in this process. The National Directorate will also have responsibility for establishment of a national knowledge base, summing up and dynamically update recent research results on evidence-based programs towards different target groups, differentiated. We have several knowledge bases on evidence-based programs and effective interventions, but the assignment to establish one authoritative knowledge base in the National Directorate is a part of the Act now to be adopted. We have a database run by the University of Tromsø today, and we will have to go into a discussion how do we use that in further developing this and updating it on a national level. The National Directorate will also have the responsibility for developing professional recommendations for the whole child welfare community, both on local and specialized level. Another action is the capacity increase in child welfare services on local level, 850 new positions. The question is, how do you use that competence? Because quality is not about capacity and quantity itself. It is the quality of what you actually do. How do you use those positions? How do you use your competence in the work with children and families? That has to be addressed. Other actions taken to meet the challenges is to further develop competence and services on state regional level. We started a process in 2011 launching a quality development program for state regional services, where we have developed the Quality Star with the 6 principles for quality. That is actually rather cheeky to say that we have developed it. We implemented it from the World Health Organization, but made it applicable also for child welfare services on regional level in Norway. In a week or so, it will be applicable also for local child welfare services. We are in a process of differentiating all our services, both foster homes and institutions, towards very distinct target groups and the needs of different target groups. We are now reorganizing and building competence in foster care services and institutions on acute crisis interventions for youth, that means children over the age of 13. How do we treat these children? What kind of needs do they have? How long do they stay in an acute crisis institution? Where do they go? What is the results of treating them in an acute crisis situation? What kind of need do they have for communication with adults in a traumatic situation? What kind of competence is needed in the services for this particular target group? We are developing this in Norway now. The second target group is children under the age of 13 and families. That means family counseling services, focusing especially on high conflict cases between parents leaving each other with common children. The third differentiation of the services is made towards youth with care needs and socio-emotional problems, anxiety disorders, suicidality, depression, and so forth. And the fourth category is youth with behavioral problems, drug addiction, low risk of further negative development and high risk of further negative development. So if you sum up these, you can see that we are now differentiating our foster homes and institutions in 6 different categories under 4 different functions. And we use some of the evidence-based programs in this process, both in foster homes and in institutions. Another action we are taking in state specialized level is establishing a system for national standardization of practices directed towards target groups. What we have done so far is to develop assessment tools, a selection of standardized assessment tools to be implemented in all state regional services, to identify the needs of the child as soon as possible, or else it is useless to differentiate the service you provide afterwards if you don't know what are the needs of each individual child, to target that to the proper intervention. Acute crisis treatment, care, youth in care, and low-risk behavioral problems. We are developing standards for how we work with children and families with these kind of particular needs. And we will continue doing this also for other target groups. So, when the new Child Welfare Act is implemented, adopted, we hope on June 10th, some actions already have been taken and will be put in place. Some discussions are now running in Norway on how do we reach our goals for increasing quality in child welfare services. There are some things that are not in place yet, and I think this is some of the topics that would be interesting to be in a communication and discussion with Estonia in the SIRE program as well. It is how do you build competence on local level? Who is the purveyors of evidence-based programs in the towards the municipalities? If they select to implement evidence-based programs for prevention or for treatment, either in foster homes or in institutions, where do they go? Who is going to train them? Who is going to provide quality assurance systems? And who is going to evaluate what they do? if they would like to implement effective in-family interventions. Where do they go to get that competence? This is a discussion we now have in Norway. Who should be the purveyors if it's not Bufetat regional organizations and not the consultation teams acting as agents for taking evidence-based programs into use? Somebody has to do that, because it will not happen by itself. That we know. We are discussing the structures for cooperation with a national directorate and the research and regional competence centers, and what role can they play in providing evidence-based programs, and update databases for evidence-based programs and effective interventions, both on local and state regional level. We have some ideas on how to do this in a manner that also would improve cooperation between the levels, local child welfare and specialized services. Or else we will end up where we did not succeed in the 2004 reform, where we have a communication between the levels that does not work effectively according to the goals for development of child welfare services. So I think I'm overdue on my time already, so I leave the Barents presentation for another session, if that is doable. Thank you.
Don't leave yet. And we might leave the Barents presentation to the later phase, because we see how it goes, and if some more information is needed, we can surely do that. Ma lülitan nüüd eesti keelele ümber, et kas on küsimusi Paul Kristjanile? Võtaks praegu paar-kolm küsimust. Sealt tuli pillalt. Oota, üks hetk.
Tere, et mina olen Pilleluiga politseist ja mul on selline küsimus, et kuidas teie poolt kirjeldatud süsteem toimib kiiret reageerimist vajavate juhtumite puhul, just seda konsultatsiooni meeskonnade võtmes? Ehk meil on Eestis olnud mitmeid keerulisi juhtumeid, kus politseil seda esmast sekkumisõigust ei ole ja kohalikul omavalitsuse tasandil lastekaitse jääb justkui hätta ja vajaks sellist lisanõu ja abi. Et kas ta sellistel juhtumitel oleks ka võimalik pöörduda sellesse konsultatsiooni meeskonda ja kas see konsultatsiooni meeskond on 24 tundi kätte saada?
In Norway, we have had for quite some time a structure for coordination of services between child welfare and the police. So in all larger cities, there are a child welfare watch 24/7, organized, localized at the police station. So where there are emergency cases detected by the police, they contact the child welfare worker at work 24/7 to have an assessment made, and the child welfare worker can by law intervene in the family situation if that is needed with an acute crisis paragraph and place the child outside of the family temporarily or for a more longer period of stay. So there is a rather well-functioning structure for cooperation with the police in Norway in all larger cities. In smaller municipalities, there is a challenge on the 24/7 watch. How do you manage to do that if you have one child welfare worker who need to sleep and eat and have a family life by themselves? So the policy to meet this challenge is by intermunicipal cooperation, especially towards establishing 24/7 services in an interaction between smaller municipalities, where the police, if they detect cases, will have someone close to go to have a fast intervention in emergencies. I think the intermunicipal structure, coordination of child welfare services is a very important policy to meet this problem, and it is endorsed in the Child Welfare Act as well, to support more intermunicipal cooperation structures by formal agreements in Norway. We have a lot of them now. We have 428 municipalities. I think nearly 200. I'm not sure about, but I think it's 180 intermunicipal agreements that have been made, and both on 24/7 intervention possibilities, but also on competence building and providing in-family services.
Okei, aitäh. Kas on veel küsimusi? Võib-olla ma küsiksin siis ise, et see võib audientsi huvitada, et kes reaalselt maksab tõenduspõhise sekkumise rakendamise kinni, et mil määral teeb seda kohalik omavalitsus, mil määral teeb seda riik, ja kui see on kohalik omavalitsuse ülesanne, kuidas tagada see, et ka need kohalikud omavalitsused, kus ei ole piisavalt rahalist võimekust, saaksid oma lastele, peredele võrdsel määral teistega pakkuda neid teenuseid?
The funding structure is it's a very important incentive for turning the use of interventions in the direction of evidence-based programs. So this was part of the national strategy and follow-up in the state budget, where the ministry have made regulations on funding the percentage municipalities should pay for different kinds of interventions. There are variations here, and I think they will be addressed in the future. Some of the evidence-based programs, like PMTO, is actually free of charge for taken to use in a municipality. The same goes for the Incredible Years program. So the funding of the competence building, quality assurance, and research is done over the state budget to the purveyors of the programs, and the municipalities can choose to engage in programs for competence building at no cost. Or they can use these interventions in single child welfare cases at no cost. They don't have to pay for that intervention. Multisystemic therapy have some costs for a municipality to take into use. We deliver multisystemic therapy services to the municipalities. It's not run in the municipalities. But the amount for using one place in the multisystemic therapy team is 50% of what a municipality would have to pay to use an institutional place on state level. So it's an incentive to rather choose multisystemic therapy or other prevention or treatment programs than institutions. So it's like a stairway system, and I think it will be addressed in the future to use funding structures as incentives to increase the use of evidence-based programs.
Okay, aitäh. Thank you. Ma arvan, et I think we stop here and we can have the discussion and questions and comments later when we have time and room for discussions. So thank you, Paul Christian.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I will just mention this, that we have, in a way, 4 levels of implementation. And this is principally, I mean, it's has nothing with the Incredible Years to do. But we are following these levels. You have to choose what level you are implementing the program. And if you start in the bottom, you have the universal prevention. That's a program delivered to everybody and to families and children without risk factors. And we have the targeted prevention, where we have some risk factors present. And we have the indicated prevention, where we have some symptoms in the child had started to building up symptoms on behavior problems. And then we have treatment at the top. So in Norway, the universal, the targeted, and the indicated prevention is delivered by the municipalities. And the treatment is delivered by the specialist healthcare system in the outpatient clinics. And I wouldn't want to talk anything about that right now. I think this is what I'm going to jump over, because this is some of the changes in the strategies of implementation of the incredible years in Norway. From after we have got the result of the research, we decided to build up as fast as possible the incredible years nationally in Norway. And after a while, we changed the strategy and focused on program fidelity. And now again, after we have had several discussions with Minister of Health, they want us to implement faster again. So, and nationally. So now we are in a new strategy. It is about 100 municipalities in Norway giving the incredible years. It's and 25 outpatient clinics. And we have the parent program, the child program, and the school and kindergarten program. It's three types of programs. I will come a little back to that again. We have approximately 1.5 million euro per year and approximately 500,000 euro per year in research funded by the Ministry of Health. And we have a long time plan to increase gradually the funding here. Let's go to really shortly to the program, because I think the results and what we have learned about this implementation is more important than the program itself. But I think I should just mention how it is built up. As you see here, it is parents, children, and teachers. So the program has, in Incredible Years, has three types of components. We have the parent program, which is probably, if you're choosing the Incredible Years, that is the parent program we are starting with. And then we have the child program, the children of the parents who is going in the parent program is delivered a special child program called the Dinosaur School. And then we have the teachers and the adult people in the kindergarten. So it's implementing the program in schools and kindergartens. And the optimal way of implementing Incredible Years is to have the program in all these three settings. And in some districts we have that, not all, but that's the goal. And it also that we have it in universal and indicated and targeted prevention and treatment. So we are trying to implement it in a way that we cover up all possibilities with the program. And here we see a more detailed overview of the components of the program. These boxes, they are the parent program. This is the child program, and on the top it is the school and kindergarten program. And the parent program is divided into baby and toddler. From 0 to 1 is baby, 1 to 3 is toddler. And then we have the preschool age program, 3 to 5, and we have the old basics is fading out now. And then we have the school age program, 6 to 12 years, and we have the universal prevention program, which I'll be coming back to in a few minutes. So we can differentiate on age now, that we couldn't do earlier. And we want to combine it with the child program and the school program. Very shortly, the content of the parent program. It's based on how to play with your child. It is emotional, social, and consistent academic coaching. It's about how parent can coach the child emotionally, socially, and be consistent. And academic coaching, which is something to do with things, blue, big, small, heavy, light, things like that. So the children learn gradually to talk about these things and to play with them. The art of praise is very important. Motivating children by reward. It's positive, effective limit setting, handling of behavior problems, and problem solving for children. How children can problem solve. So this is a sort of overview of the content, and here you have the parent pyramid, actually saying just the same. We are starting at the bottom with this very solid fundament here with positive parent-child relationship. So the reason why we are choosing play as a very important arena here, it is because we want to establish a positive child-parent relationship, because that's not usually not at place when we start the treatment or the prevention program. It's conflicts between the parents and the children. So we can't start any work with limit setting or something like that before we have a positive relationship between the children and the parent. And play is a very convenient social setting to establish positive relationship. Then we have the praise and reward, building social competence, positive limit setting, enforced collaboration between the children and the parents, and then we have how to ignore some sort of behaviors and reduce nagging, and at the top it is the strategy that we are using when we are working with very, very serious problem behaviors, violence, for example. We are focusing on cognition, emotions, and behavior. It's a close relationship between how we are thinking about a situation, for example, a child, and how we are feeling about the child, and what we are doing to the child. So we are working all the time with the parents to think positively about their child, and then that they get positive emotions, and then they can display positive behaviors. It's developmentally based. Developmental psychology is in the bottom here. It's empirically supported. I will come back to that. It's a collaborative process. It's a collaboration between parents and the group leaders. Group leaders as therapists. So we don't use the name therapist because we don't want our people to be in a sort of therapist role. We want to be a collaboration with the same type of power level. So the parents have their competence and their very specific individual competence about themselves, about their children, and we have more principal competence by developmental psychology, learning theory, and things like that. And we are collaborating all the time. We are promoting independence for the parents. They should not be dependent upon us. The program is based on video clips, and it's role play, rehearsals, it's home assignments, and it's parent support. We are supporting the parent very closely. What we are doing in practice here, we're starting with an in-depth interview with the parents. It is 10 to 14 parents in the group, and it means that It is about 6 to 7 children, parents to 6 to 7 children. It's partner support. They have the parents they have different backgrounds, and that's very important because then they can support each other. Some parents with much resources and others with less resources, they are helping each other. It's day and evening groups. It's 2 hours meeting, led by 2 group leaders with different roles. Then there's body calls. We are helping the parents to call each other during in the week between the meetings, so they can collaborate, they can support each other. We give them food, babysitters, and transportation if necessary. Always food, but babysitters if they need that, and transportation if they need that. As a part of the program. If a municipality don't want to offer food, babysitters, and transportation, they cannot implement incredible years. Then I should go to the research and what we found. When we imported the incredible years in 1998, after the conference Paul Christian was talking about earlier today, we started with the research. So we implemented the program, adapted it, of course, implemented it for research in 2 quite big outpatient clinics in Tromsø and Trondheim. And this is the reference of the most important report from this study, giving the main results. 127 children, 4 to 8 years. We are screening them with ECBI. Is a sort of screening instrument where we can see if the child is above or below clinical cutoff. And KIRISATS is a system for diagnosis. It was 4 assignment waves from 2001 to 2003, 1 year follow-up from 2002 to 4, and 5 to 6 year follow-up. This is one of the very few studies that have 5 to 6 years follow-up. Usually it is 1 year follow-up and they stop. We have 5 to 6 years, and I think this is one of the reasons why we can say that we are treating successfully these kids, and it lasts. This is results for behavior problems, and don't look at all these figures. It's only these figures here that's important. That's the effect sizes. And if I'm summing up these things, so we have effect sizes for changes in the children's behavior between 180 to 60 to 46 down there. The mean effect size is 0.65, which is pretty good. It is formally moderate change. 80 is big change, great changes. So we got improvements that was pretty good according to effect sizes. Here is the results on parenting skills. And if you look at the same rows here, back they can see it, I think, but it is much higher effect sizes. The highest one, I think, is 224, extremely high, and that's positive parenting for fathers. So the fathers changed from negative parenting to positive parenting with extreme high effect size. So, and also mothers, 144 is extremely high. So that means that we changed the culture in the family from a punishing culture to a rewarding culture. And I don't have this data here, I think, but we checked if this change was connected, associated with the changes in the children, and it was. So changes in the parenting skills is extremely important. And here we see the changes in diagnosis. all children had oppositional defiant disorder. That's one of the diagnoses. This is conduct disorders. Fewer children because before we started, because we had children between 4 and 8 years old. And conduct disorder is the more serious type of behavior problems. That's violent children. They are coming in an age 5, 6, 7 years old. So therefore we have fewer children with conduct disorders, but all of them had oppositional defiant disorders. And we see it's extremely good reduction of the diagnosis, that I don't meet the criteria for diagnosis after treatment. So we diagnosed them before treatment and 1 year after. This is 1 year after treatment, the red one. ADHD goes 35% down without medication. And we have anxiety and depression. Some of the kids met the criteria for anxiety and depression, and we got approximately 50% of them did not meet the criteria for anxiety and depression after treatment. This is a very important result, actually, because it shows that you had to, the parents have to participate more than 75% of the meetings. If they participate, this is 75%. If they participate less than 75%, the improvement falls. So they have to be there at least 75% of the number of meetings, and that is significant statistically. This is a quite interesting picture, I think, because it shows how many of the children that had the biggest improvement and how long they lasted. So 38.9% of the participants at 5 to 6 years follow-up had not oppositionally defiant disorder at 1 year or 5 to 6 years. So it's what maintained. The result was maintained. We call them the success children. If you jump down to this one, delayed effect, 28.8% had ODD and CD at 1 year follow-up, but not at the 5 to 6 years follow-up. So it was a delayed improvement. So if you are summing up this group and the top group, it is about 65% of the children has a long-lasting improvement. Then we have high-risk children. 9.3% had the diagnosis at both assessment points. So 9% didn't we fix. And that's what we are now working with. How should we improve that group? What does that group need that the other one don't need? And then we have some of them had not ODD, CD at 1 year, but they had at 5 to 6 years. So the effect disappeared for some of them. And we are, of course, asking the question, why is it so that some of them deteriorate and develop problems again after so many years? One obvious reason is that the parents has fallen back to old ways of handling the children and not using the principle we have learned them anymore. That's probably one of the reasons anyway. Then we have the Universal Prevention Program. And that is the program, that's brand new. And it's directed toward normal families without risk factors, without any problems with their children. That's a sort of universal that we are working with these parents in order to not develop any risk factors. And this is interesting because a total families of 269 and 58 children excluded due to high ECBI intensity scores. That means that they needed more than a universal program. So to have a universal program, actually, they can discover children that should have treatment, which didn't get it. We say if you don't have this universal program, that we are actually screening them. And 22 families terminated their participation in the initial phase. Pre-post, 1 year follow-up, and this was the seven first meetings of the parent program in the curricular years. This was not the treatment part of the program. So you see, this was parents who had much resources. 61% had full-time occupation, 80% had two-parent families, and 78% had bachelor or higher education. So the parents who assigned to this program was parents with resources. So we didn't get the parents who maybe needed the most. Interesting enough. So therefore we are now changing recruitment procedure for this program. We have a new, this is the old program, we have a new one now, as I mentioned. Yeah. Here is the results from the program. It is changes in the child's behavior, and it is parenting variable, and it is parents' sense of competence. Parents' sense of competence. How do the parents feel about their parenting role? And if you look at the results here, so you see that we get a small significant effects on the children's behavior. That's because they didn't have any problems, very small problems, so it's nothing to repair. Extremely good effect on harsh parenting, punishment, and it's extremely well changed on positive parenting. So also here, the parents changed the way of handling the children. And then we have also very good effect on parents' sense of competence, how the parents are feeling about their parental status. And all these things from parenting and parent sense of competence is risk factors for development of problems in children. So we are reducing the risk factors, taking them away. Now, at the end, I will look at the cost effectiveness of the curricular years. And this is a calculation I did in collaboration with Michael Parsonage. He's a senior advisor for the Department of Education in UK. He calculated, he is an economist. He calculated that the total cost savings for children with early conduct disorder and oppositional defiant disorder debut in a life perspective is £150,000. This is the total cost savings. And you have the reference here on that article. In curricular years in Norway, we have treated approximately 5,000 children in the last 12 years. 60% of them sustainable, successful treatment, that's 3,000 children, if we are using our research as basis. The contribution rate is 0.083% of the child population, so we are treating very small portion of the child population. But if we are doing this calculation and only say that 10% successful sustainable treatment, not 60% as we actually have demonstrated, but only 10% of the kids has sustainable treatment. But if we think it's a low estimate, it's £45 million saving for the society. So we have probably saved the Ministry of Health for £45 million. So I think, where are you? You continue to support us. Here is similar, this is from Denmark. And the National Board of Social Services has made calculations about cost-benefit analysis. And this is how much do you cost as an individual from birth and to old age. And from the beginning, we are costing a lot because it's school and it is everything. Children don't support the society economically. It's about 26, 25, 28 years of age. You are really contributing economically to the society. That's the blue one. This is conduct disorder children. They will never contribute to the society. And this one is children who get treatment from evidence-based treatment. And this is calculated with the credible years. You see, they actually start in the age of 28, 30 to contribute to the society because they are treated successfully. And if we now look at these figures, they have the National Board of Social Services has evaluated MST, MTFC, and then it is what's called that? It is foster families in family. What's called it? It's yes, yeah, there's a special name on it. I don't remember now. And then the incredible years. This is the incredible years. This frame here, DO, this Norwegian abbreviation for incredible years. And they have a detailed description of how they have calculated this. So I can't go through that. But we save approximately 211 million euro per year with incredible years. And that is one, if all the children in Denmark that has conduct disorder and oppositional defiant disorder get incredible years. That's the presupposition. They don't do that. But if they did, we will save 211 million euro per year. That's why the Ministry of Social Affairs in Denmark said that we are going to implement evidence-based program in Denmark. Thank you.
Kui on küsimusi Võllitsoorele, et võtaksime mõned küsimused ja pärast jätkame diskussiooniga, kus saab veel küsida, nii et küsige.
Aitäh väga huvitava ettekande eest, aga mind ikka vaevab see küsimus, et kuidas need pered jõuavad selle programmini?
Yes, it differs a little dependent upon if it is a universal or an indicated or treatment. If it is universal, they can just assign to it at the health stations that offer it, the program. When you have the indicated or targeted prevention, the nurses in the health station or the social service people in the municipalities can detect the parents and the children and offer them the program. They can say no, of course, but some of them say, of course, say yes. When we are coming to the treatment, it is a referral system. The family doctor and the child protection services can refer to the outpatient clinic, and the outpatient clinic is giving the program.
Aitäh. Veel küsimusi? Tundub nii, et me jätkame küsimustega diskussioonivoorus. Et nagu te olete nüüdseks ilmselt tähele pannud, et kella 3-st meil pausi ei olnud. Ja see on nüüd küsimus teile, et iseenesest meil on aega veel tund aega. Et ma pakuks välja, et me jätkaksime siit kohast diskussiooniga, kuna teemad on nii värskelt õhus olnud ja pigem lõpetame siis veidi varem või kuidas teile tundub? Jätkame.
Muidugi, kuna siin nüüd natukene tuleb tõsta toole, et siis tegelikult on, ma arvan, 3–5 minutit aega teil püsti tõusta ja natukene sisse välja hingata.
Okei, 3 minutit pausi. Palume siis siia ette arutluse vooru siis meie 2 Norra kolleegi ja kutsume veel täiendavalt lisaks 2 kolleegi Eestist, et Liigasvandik, kes on praktikute poole esindaja Eestist ja kes on tegelenud pikka aega lapsevanemate koolitusega, kes omab Eestis kogemust selles, kuidas lapsevanemad kaasata, need Lii, ole hea, liitu meiega. Ja Lii on MTÜ Sina ja mina tegevjuht. Ja teiseks paluksin siia veel Karmen Torose, keda te täna hommikupoole juba kuulasite, kes on siis Tallinna Ülikooli Sotsiaaltöö Instituudi ja lastekaitse valdkonna ekspert ja Karmen siis aitab meil ka nii-öelda kaasa mõelda, kuidas ülikoolide ja teaduste poole pealt siis edendada üldse tõenduspõhiste sekkumiste osakaalu ja kuidas siis reaalselt siis uuringud, poliitikaid ja praktikaid siis kokku viia. Nii et praegu on ühelt poolt teil kõigil võimalus küsida, tõstatada omalt poolt teemasid, kommenteerida, mida siis saaksid meie eksperdid siin siis omalt poolt siis vastu reflekteerida. Aga võib-olla alustuseks küsiks siis esimese küsimuse enda poolt ja seda Norra kolleegidelt, et kui Eesti on nüüd võtma suuna liikumaks tõenduspõhiste sekkumiste suunas, et millised on need peamised väljakutsed, milleks me peame valmis olema, kui näiteks Eesti otsustab võtta ühe tõenduspõhise vanemlusprogrammi endale kasutusse.
I can start?
Yes.
Yeah. The implementation is sort of extremely loud.
You can take them off when you talk.
Yeah. Oh. Deaf. No. The implementation process is always a challenge because it is a connection or relation between the quality of implementation and the effects of the program. So if you are implementing it in a wrong way and with low quality, you will also come out in the other end for the children and families with low effects. That's very important. I have seen several times that there has been evidence-based program with international very good evidence, and it is imported to Norway, and they have started to disseminate it quickly and without fidelity, and it doesn't work. So this is very important. And some important steps in that process is that it has to be anchored very strongly in the political system. We have 3 ministers here. That's very, very promising. But that is on the state level, but also at the regional level and the municipality level. It is very important that it's anchored in the political organs and also in the administrative level in the communities. And then it has to be a very good process about preparing the agencies to receive the program. If you also always have people that are resisting anything that is new, for example, and some people don't like American programs and others don't like evidence-based program, and some of that. It's lots of dislikes. And you have to know about these things, because if it's too much, you can't implement it. So you have to prepare it very neatly and identify the resistors and identify the early adopters, the people who really want to implement it. And then the third thing is that you have to do the training of the personnel with high quality. And you have to establish a competence maintenance system so it doesn't fall together quickly after you have started. And that has to be long-lasting or everlasting system that maintain the quality or the competence of the people. So it's many steps to cover here. And if you don't succeed here, you, as I said in the beginning, you don't have the necessary effects.
Okay. Yes, Paul Christian.
Yes, I could add something to that, some more challenges. I think based upon experience. Communication and legitimacy to evidence-based programs and taking them into use is really important. And it's not without reason. Is this not working? Do you hear me now? No? Is this better?
Okay. Yeah, there we go. A bit too much, maybe. Legitimacy is really important when you start with an implementation strategy. And what the figures Willy Tore showed were basically from Denmark. This is also a Norwegian experience in the strategy. We chose for implementation of programs, we were very weak on cost-benefit analysis up front in Norway. We did not conduct them and we did not have that legitimacy to implementation of these programs in a cost-benefit perspective. They have been coming as we go for some of the programs, but not for all of them. I think that would add to the legitimacy of starting an implementation strategy for this. Then the communication and the resistance Willy Tore is mentioning. And I think from experience in Norway, the way you communicate about evidence-based programs and provide them to professionals is really, really important, because there are a lot of resistance. And one way of doing this, because I've been talking about a vertical, and I think you need a vertical, you need an organizational structure to secure quality, capacity, assurance systems. But how do you communicate in a vertical? This is really important, because it can be perceived among professionals as a top-down communication. We have something you don't have, and we are going to give it to you. Another way to communicate this is to ask, what do you need? What do you lack? How can we assist you in providing better care and better treatment for those you have the responsibility for? It's your responsibility. We can assist you. And I think we missed out on communication in some of these programs. In the implementation process, there have been some resistance, and we have not seen the results we hope for dissemination or taking these programs into use in local level. So a communication strategy, information strategy, elaborated when you start out. I think that's really a good advice from the Norwegian experience.
Ma küsiksin küsimuse Liilt, et siin Norra kolleegid tõid ka välja teema, et tõenduspõhiste sekkumiste rakendamisel sageli eelneb palju vastuseisu, hirme, inimesed ei tea, mis see tähendab, kardetakse kaotada oma senise praktika, võib-olla rahastamist ja nii edasi. Et kuidas sina näed, mis praeguseni Eestis on toimunud ja miks sina praktikuna hindad, et võiks kavandada ka Eesti mõnda tõenduspõhist praktikat või sekkumist rakendada?
Ma arvan, et see minu kõige suurem selline poolt oleks sellele tõenduspõhisusele algas sellest hetkest, kui ma hakkasin juhtima seda organisatsiooni, mis pakub vanemlusprogramme ja koolitab lapsevanemaid. Olles ise koolitaja ja töötades lapsevanematega, oli tihti küll see tunne, et ma ju tean, mida ma neile võiksin pakkuda. ja ma võin siin teha sellise möönduse ja siin võib-olla sellise möönduse, sellepärast et nemad vajavad just seda. Aga vaadates suuremat pilti, siis kui kõik koolitajad, praktikud teeksid seda nii-öelda isetegevust, siis ei ole võimalik mitte ühegi asja kasu ega mõju mõõta. Ja vaadates organisatsiooni juhi seisukohast, siis see mõju mõõtmine selleks, et tõendada ühe vanemlust toetava organisatsiooni vajadust, on esmatähtis.
Aitäh! Ma kohe tahan küsida Karmen sinult ühe küsimuse, aga ma näen, et Signe lehvitab ja minu käes on ainuke mikrofon, mille sa saab küsimusi esitada, nii et ma hakkan jooksma teie juurde, nii et andke märku, kes küsida soovib.
Signe Riisala, ka Sotsiaalministeerium. Et mulle tundus, et just nimelt selle koha peal ma tahan vahele öelda, et kui Villitoore ja tegelikult ka Lii rääkisid sellest, kui kerge on libastuda ja vigu teha, siis Eestil on jutumärkides hea kogemus ju PRIDE koolitusprogrammiga, mis on ka tegelikult tõenduspõhine ja mille pool Kristjan meile ka siin enne slaidides ära näitas. Ja see on siis hooldusperedele mõeldud koolitusprogramm. Et mis Eestis juhtus, me tegime kõik võimalikud vead, kui päris aus olla. Aasta oli 2000, kui see programm Eestisse toodi, umbes 2000 keskelt hakati selle järgi siis ka koolitama ja siis see seadustati kohustusena hooldusperedele. Aga me ei täida seda koolitusprogrammi täies mahus ehk 100%. Me oleme teinud oma rahalistest ressurssidest lähtuvalt valikud ja näiteks järelkoolitust me ei paku. Juba üks põhjus, mille pärast tegelikult me ei saa seda tulemust, mille programmi väljatöötajad on ette näinud. Teine asi, riik annab väga väikese ressursi selleks, et läbi viia neid koolitusi. Aga puudu on täielikult see pool, et arendada seda programmi, et koolitada koolitajaid, et hoida seda süsteemi tervikuna ajakohasena. Et need on kõik need vead, mida me oleme ise juba tegelikult kogenud ja millest me lihtsalt peame õppima seda enam, kui meile kõrvalt kolleegid Norrast ka seda meelde tuletavad. Ja ma siit oleks püstitanud veel sujuvalt ühe teise küsimuse ka, et võib-olla siis, ma ei tea, kas kohe vastata sellele või hiljem. Aga nagu hooldusperede puhul ma ütlesin, et me oleme seadustanud kohustuse. Hoolduspered peavad läbima PRIDE koolituse. Ja see siis ka tähendab seda, et me saame need pered kätte, et Ville küsimusele siin jätkuks, eks ole. Et kuidas info jõuab peredeni, kuidas need pered kätte saada. Aga kuidas neid peresid motiveerida või siis kohustada osalema, et see on see järgmine koht. Et Lii teab neid peresid, kes on ise motiveeritud, aga mitte kõikidel puhkudel ei ole pered motiveeritud, et kus see balanss on selle kohustuse, seadusest tuleneva kohustuse motiveerimise vahel ja mis siis saab, kui pered ei tule kaasa. Mul on tunne, et siin hakkab juba diskussioon kooruma, et jätame selle Signe küsimuse õhku, et kuidas peresid motiveerida programmi tulema, et ma arvan, et see küsimus on väga paljudel õhus, et mida täpselt ja praktiliselt seda teha. Mul on tunne, et Triinu Tervise Arengu Instituut tahab PRIDE teemat kommenteerida.
Tegelikult ma muidugi nõustusin suures osas sellega, mis puudutab just nimelt PRIDE osas neid järelkoolitusi nii edasi. Ma tahtsin vastata küsimusele, kuidas motiveerida. Aga me oleme pakkumas sellist tehnikat nagu motiveeriv intervjueerimine, mida siin ka näidati slaidi peal ja tahtsin öelda, et võib-olla on mõistlik neid tehnikaid omavahel siduda, et sotsiaaltöötajad sageli pöörduvad meie poole, meie praegu koolitame motiveeriva intervjueerimisega just tervishoiutöötajad ja teisest sektorist, aga sotsiaaltöötajad tahaksid seda sama tehnikat omandada ja ma arvan, et see on üks võimalus. Aitäh!
Väga hea, aitäh. Et Karmen, täiendaksid sa seda omalt poole pealt?
Selle samamoodi selle motiveerimise koha pealt, mis ma unustasin enne oma ettekandes öelda, et samamoodi on tekkinud ka lastekaitsetöötajal küsimus, kuidas motiveerida peresid, et kas siis vanemlusprogrammi või mingisse muudesse programmidesse. Aga küsimus on tekkinud ühel grupil lastekaitsetöötajatel, need, kes olid läbinud lahenduskeskse nõustamise koolituse. Kuna nemad omavad tehnikaid, kuidas usaldussuhet luua ja seal ei tekkinud neil küsimustki, et kuidas ma pean vanemat üldse kohustama, vaid see suhe arenes sellisel viisil, et vanemad mõistsid, mis on tema lapsele hea. et selles mõttes, et ma leian, et see samamoodi, et see koolitus ka sotsiaaltöötajate, lastekaitsetöötajate puhul, et kuidas just nimelt ka see motiveeriv intervjueerimine, mis põhineb tugevustele, kliendiressursside avastamisel ja kõik need tehnikad, mis on vajalikud, et see on see üks koht, kus me peame tegelikult edasi arendama, et oleksid olemas need oskused, sest et just need samad lastekaitsetöötajad, kes lähenesid perekeskselt ja just nimelt selle kaasasid lapse ja pere, ütlesid, et ei ole kordki tulnud ette juhtumeid, et pere ei taha minuga koostööd teha. Ja samas see teine grupp siis ütles, et väga raske on leida positiivseid muutusi. Et võib-olla on siin, millest me peaks edasi mõtlema.
Aga Lii, kuidas siis te motiveerite vanemaid tulemaks Kordoni perekooli kursustele? Teil on päris pikaajalised kogemused vanemate koolitamisega.
Jah, eks see üks raske teema on ja kui Signe ütles siin, et need vanemad enamasti, kes perekooli jõuavad, on juba kuidagi ise motiveerinud ennast või motiveerunud, siis päris kõik siiski mitte ja sellest algab tegelikult meie jaoks koolitaja number 1 ülesanne, mida ta teeb seal lapsevanemate grupi kokku kogunedes esmalt. Ja see ei ole praegu, nagu siin eelpool oli juttu, selline intervjueerimine, mida koolitaja viiks läbi, aga ta peab tegema midagi kogu selle grupiga, kes on kokku saanud. Et nad käiksid, et nad jätkaksid, et nad omavahel suhtleksid, et nad jagaksid oma kogemusi, nii halbu kui häid kogemusi ja läbi selle siis kõik õpiksid. Nüüd, mis puudutab neid lapsevanemaid, kes on kuidagi sotsiaaltöötaja või lastekaitsetöötaja poolt suunatud, siis see vahe on väga suur. Ja seal ma ütlen, et saab kõik alguse mitte ainult koolitaja tööst, vaid selle sotsiaaltöötaja või lastekaitsetöötaja tööst. Kui motiveeritud on lastekaitsetöötaja ise sellist teenust üldse pakkuma, kui hästi ta sellest teenusest arvab ja milline on tema enda kogemus sellise teenuse läbimisel.
Aitäh, reflektsioonid Norra poolelt korraks ja siis anname küsimusteks ja kommentaarideks järgmised sõnad. Willi Toore ja Paul Christian. Who is first?
Oh, okay, thank you. 2 things. First, just a comment on motivational interviews. We combine that with a lot of interventions and programs in Norway with good effect. So we already do that and can recommend that, absolutely. When it comes to motivation among parents, I think one of the strategies would be to build the conception of child welfare and social workers in the population over time as an open service, the visibility of what they are doing, documentation for the decisions they are making. I think these efforts will give some results in the end. We started a communication strategy for an open child welfare service in Norway some years ago. And we have seen a huge increase in parents reporting themselves to child welfare, asking for assistance. While before, the neighbors or the kindergartens or the schools were the ones reporting cases to child welfare services. I think nearly 50% of reports now to child welfare at local level is coming from the family themselves. So what kind of image do they have of the helpers, of the professionals? Is it, do they perceive it as a conflict, abuse of power, or an open, visible service there to assist you? I think a communication strategy on this will prove fruitful. Then also on motivation, it has been a discussion politically and professionally in Norway whether to make in-family interventions or parenting programs voluntarily or mandatory by law, and Willi Toore has been participating in that discussion and contributing to that. So maybe you could say something about
Yes, I was a member of a committee appointed by the government who made official report. It was one of the bases for the proposition to the government, not to the Parliament right now. And one of the propositions there is that parent training should be mandatory in some cases. And that is the cases that the welfare system has assessed the parents and found out that they have potential to be better parents. And in those cases, we have proposed that the court, the family court, can decide that they should attend to the parent program, because the alternative could be that they lose the child. So if they have potential, that's an extremely important point. If they don't have potential, well, we can't do that, but then we have to work as fast as possible to take the child out of the family if it is very serious sorts of problems in the family. Yeah. But I should like to comment on the motivation too, because in addition to what has been said here, I think the way the parents is met in the program in the beginning is very important. Especially when the parents are coming from the social welfare system, many of them resist. But if we can help them to meet to the meetings first time, and if they are met there in a way that they feel they have respect from the group leaders, for example, in the global years, they feel that they has been understood, that the people around them want to help them, it's very important. And we had several examples that their families have resisted and said, okay, I will meet the first time, but I'm not going to continue. But we are meeting, they were met in a professional way and in a kind way and with love. They're coming, they're continuing. So that's extremely important.
Ja ilmselt on hästi oluline ka silmas pidada, et neid vanemaid hoida seal programmis, nagu ka enne Villitsure mainis, et kui alla 75% osalus on, et siis tulemused ei ole enam need, et tõenäoliselt tõesti lapsehoiu teenuse pakkumine samal ajal vanematele, et nad saaksid programmis osaleda ja muud toetavad ja motiveerivad meetmed, nagu ma olen kuulnud, ka mõned riigid pakuvad ka selliseid allahindluse pakette vanematele, kes on ka suunatud programmi, et nad seal püsiks, nii et erinevaid ka loovaid lahendusi selleks, et tõesti saada ka neid vanemaid sinna, kes muidu ei püsiks. Nüüd on tulnud päris mitu küsimus soovi või kommentaari soovi, et kõigepealt Siim.
Tere, olen Eevi Vilgat, Center Papaver ja vanemlike oskuste arendamise grupiga tegelenud siis nüüd 5 aastat. Ja just nende sihtrühm on meil siis mitte motiveeritud. Väga hea oli kuulda siin, et motiveerib intervjueerimine neid elemente ja osa lastekaitsetöötajad siis tõesti motiveerivad vanemad ära ja osad ei suuda neid motiveerida. Ja Norra kolleegidelt väga hea kuulda, et täpselt need samad meetodid, mis meil on töötavad ka Norras, et see esmakohtumine on oluline ja professionaalsus. Nüüd minu 2 küsimus, siis esimene nimelt niisugune, et olla hea lapsevanem, selleks see eeldab head paarisuhet. Missugune seos või kas üldse Norra riigis on seostatud vanemlike oskuste, vanemluse toetamise gruppe ka paarisuhte toetamise gruppidega? See on esimene küsimus. Ja mul jäi märkamata, kui te kirjeldasite vanemlike oskuste gruppe erinevatel tasanditel, kui pikaajaline programmid teil on? Aitäh!
Yeah, I only understood the first question because the interpreter didn't catch the other one.
Kas me võime korrata teist küsimust, sest tõlkija vist ei saanud aru teisest küsimusest?
The second question.
kordan küsimuse siis, jah. Teine küsimus oli, et kui pikad on Norra programmid?
Teine küsimus oli, kui pikad on Norra vanemlusprogrammid, kaua nad kestavad?
Yes, I can't, the last question first, but that's the simplest way of the simplest answer. It depends on if it is treatment or if it is universal or it is indicated prevention. If it is, the universal program is 7 weeks. The indicated parent program or the targeted parent program is 15 to 18 weeks. And the treatment program is 21 to 24 weeks. The first question about the relationship between the parents. First of all, we are, if it is 2 parents available and not single parent system, so we are working very hard to invite the other parent, for example, the father. Usually the mother wants to come, and the father says sometimes anyway that he doesn't need it because he can these things. But we are working quite hard to help the father to come into the group together with the mother. And then they receive the same sort of information and strategies and techniques and things like that. And we are helping them to agree on these things, of the children things anyway. If they are quarreling of other things in the world, we want to help them to agree on the parenting practice things. What we see is that parents who are in conflict, and many of these parents are in conflict, maybe sometimes, but because of the child, because the child is very, very complicated, and they're quarreling about how to raise the child. When we are coming to the end of the course, we are very often seeing that they are more they agree quite more now. Also, the conflicts between the parents are diminished in a way. We have a special component in the program called Advanced. I didn't show that on the screen. It's called Advanced, and that is focusing on how the children are communicating with each other and how they are problem solving with each other. So some parents are offered that course. If we see that it is lots of conflict between them, they are offered that course after the parenting course. Is it me or is it you?
I don't know.
Hoidke oma küsimus vaoset, või õige mitte vaos, aga hoidke meeles, et me saaksime selle juurde tagasi tulla ja teised mõelge ka veel küsimusi. Õhtune aeg juba väsimus tekib. Et paluksin ka võib-olla Liil seda pärast kommenteerida, et Paul Kristjan tahab öelda midagi, aga et kuidas teie Eestis seda sama teemat käsitlete, et paarisuhte teema on olnud tegelikult sageli üleval. Paul Kristjan.
I would just like to add some information to parenting programs. We have a rather extensive family counseling service in Norway with a lot of offices, family therapists working both in individual cases but also providing parental guidance programs. Not necessarily connected to child welfare cases, but on a general basis, on a voluntary basis, and it need not to be in contact with child welfare. We have 2 such programs running in Norway now in family counseling services. One is called Parenting Guidance Program. The other one is dedicated for young parents. It's called Early Start. When you are from 18 to 25 maybe, and you have a child and you need to teach the basics of what does that mean. It's in addition to this positive parenting program connected to child welfare and the detection of the children's needs.
Lii, soovid sa kommenteerida?
nii palju, et me ei ole ka saanud oma tööd teha ilma, et me ei oleks koostööd teinud siis näiteks pereteraapia ühinguga, et lapsevanemate koolitusele tulevad lapsevanemad, kes on saanud soovituse pereterapeudilt, kuhu nad esmalt on sattunud ja vastupidi, et meie koolitustel praktikut märgates, et seal oleks vaja personaalselt seda pere, seda paari toetada, siis suunavad ja annavad nõu, millise pereterapeudi juurde minna, sõltuvalt siis maakonnast või vallast, kus pere pärit on. Ja samuti teeme me tihedalt koostööd sihtasutusega Väärtustades elu, kes Eestis nüüd tänasel päeval pakub PREP-paarisuhte koolitust ja oleme siis neid meie lapsevanemate programme ja nende paaridele mõeldud programmi pakkunud üheskoos.
Aitäh! Lõpuks ometi saate küsida oma küsimused.
Jelena Põltsamaa on minu nimi, esindan pereteraapia ühingut, olen kliiniline psühholoog, kognitiivkäitumusliku assotsiatsiooni liige ja pereteraapia ühingu liige. Töötades kliinilises kontekstis teeb mulle väga rõõmu, et selline programm, siis see on see, mida me praegu arutame, see on väga tähtis, ehk siis ei pea nii palju kliinilises töös kulutama aega vanemlike oskuste õpetamisele, mis on väga tähtis. Üks neist olen ka mina, kes saadab kas PREP-i koolitusele või siis teistele koolitustele, Gordoni kooli. Küll aga probleem on selles, et ennetusprogrammina oskuste õpetamine on väga tähtis. Aga probleem on selles, et miks need oskused ja nagu teadusuuringud ka näitasid, et osa tulevad millegi pärast igapäevaelus tagasi selle juurde, et nad teevad nii, nagu nad tegid varem. Ja? Et selle kohta öeldakse, et see vanema diferentseerimatus teeb seda. Et kas oleks võimalik, kuidas teie näete, et ma saan aru, et vajadusel saadetakse pereterapeudi juurde, aga kuidas me saaksime rakendades seda programmi lisada sellise osa, et ei peaks veel eraldi kuhugi saatma, vaid kuidagi kombineerima? On? Saadav ja see, millest oli juttu, et lapsed on võimelised oma vajadused väljendama, absoluutselt kognitiivsed võimed arenevad küllaltki varakult, küll aga kui lapsel on näiteks ärevushäire, asi on kaugel sellest, mõni täiskasvanudki ei oska oma vajadusi väljendada, rääkimata lapsest.
So the question was to you, Paul Kristjan and Villi Tuure.
Was that two questions actually? What we do to maintain the parenting skills so that it doesn't went back again to the old way of handling it. We got that question first. First of all, it's different strategies actually. One of them is that this is a group-based program. It's a group of parents, and during the course, we are connecting the parents so they know each other quite well after a while, and we are helping them to continue to meet after the course is over. And sometimes the group leaders can attend to that meetings. They meet sometimes once a month, for example, gathering home or another place, and they are discussing how it works out and give each other support. So they have a sort of parent support system. The other thing is that we are inviting them back again after 3 months and after 1 year. And we are discussing how it goes with the child and how it goes with the parenting, and then we can catch problems if they are there. Now we probably start to use the universal program as a booster for the parents who have gone through the ordinary program. for example, after 1 year, have this 7 weeks program, as I mentioned, as a booster session. So, and we are very, I think this is a smart idea. It's also the program developer that she proposed to try to do that. So then we have sort of 3 types of strategies to help the parents to maintain the parenting skills. The parent support system, we are inviting them after 3 months and 1 year, and then the booster session using the universal program. So.
Tundub, et küsimus ei saanud päris vastatud, nii et jätkame.
See, mille kohta käis minu küsimus, et ma saan aru jah, et need toetusgruppid, üksteise toetamine on väga tähtis, kuid see ei aita inimese enese diferentseerumist parandada, ehk see, mida tegid tema vanemad, vanemate vanemad, kui ta on olnud lapsena hooletusse jäetud, see ema või isa, ta püüab olla parem vanem oma lapsele, ta tahab midagi paremat, teeb seda väga hästi, kuid risk on see, et ta hooldab oma last üle, mis on ka patoloogiline edaspidi. Et see vanema diferentseerimatus on väga tähtis ja ainult oskuste õpetamisega me seda ei paranda, ma tahtsin seda öelda.
Well, it could be pathological aspects of in the parents, and that could have been from their own childhood, of course, and if it is other sorts of mental health problems in the parents, it's very important that they are referred to other types of treatment. Because the parent program is not a therapy for mental health problems. You have to detect it. You have to refer them to the right instances. It's very important. Yeah.
Ehk siis igal asjal oma koht, igal osapoolel oma roll ja rollidest rääkides küsikski ka Karmenilt, et millisena sina näed ülikoolide, ma mõtlen praegu just Eesti ülikoolide rolli, suutlikkust, huvi osaleda praktilise programmi arenduses või uuringutes, et Norras on ülikoolidega koostöö tavapärane nähtus ja kui me nägime ka, et ka riik eraldab raha Incredible Yearsile 1,5 miljonit eurot, siis uuringutele läheb sellest 500 000 eurot, mis on väga märkimisväärne summa. Ehk siis, et kuidas sa seda osa kommenteerid?
Muidugi seda mul üksinda raske kommenteerida, aga ma arvan, et iseenesest on ülikoolid valmis panustama, seda näitab ka diskussioon ühiskonnas, just nimelt kasvatusteadlased tahavad panustada omades kompetentsust ja kindlasti on see koht, kus just nimelt see kohandamisprotsessis neid tugevalt kaasata ja see on seesama, et see kommunikatsiooni küsimus ka, et mis on tähtis ja kuidas ja kindlasti meil on palju kompetentsust, aga see on jälle see küsimus, mis toodi ka täna välja, et ise arendada ühte sellist programmi on ikka väga pikaaegne protsess ja meie lapsed nii kaua ei jaksa oodata ja vanemad samuti, mis ei tähenda aga, et võib ju paralleelselt arendama hakata siin meie oma riigis, et ma usun, et ülikoolidel on see samuti valmisolek haakuda. Et ja see just nimelt see koostöö, et ülikoolide siseselt on hakatud rõhutama ka rohkem just nimelt erinevate valdkondade koostööd, mida varasemalt on vähem just nimelt sotsiaaltöö, psühholoogia, et samu probleeme adresseerida ja see tähendab ka seda, et siis väljapoole, nii et ma usun, et kindlasti on ülikoolidel kompetentsus ja ka soov, mida ma olen viimastes diskussioonides ja ka ülikooli siseselt näinud.
Sa juba tõid poolenisti ise välja selle küsimuse, mida on teravalt mitmetel üritustel minult küsitud, kaasa arvatud meedias, et nüüd mul on võimalus endal see küsimus küsida. Aga miks ikkagi ise ei võiks sellist programmi välja töötada? Et miks Norra ei töötanud ise välja Incredible Years'i või sellele sarnast programmi? Miks te otsustasite valida programmi, mis tuleb Ameerikast?
I can start. Paul Christian have already said something about it, I believe. you can ask why didn't, for example, I start in the 1980s to develop a program. Well, I did other things then. But the program developer in the incredible years started to develop the first issue of the incredible years in the 1981 or something like that. And then she has gradually, developed more and more and elaborated it and built up a system around it now. And it has taken now 30 years, and she is still in the developmental phase. So it's a very, very long way to go. And then we have the research. A program is not an evidence-based program if it doesn't have both research from the program developer, often done with special trained people in laboratory settings, so-called efficacy programs, efficacy research. But in addition to that, you need efficiency research. You need research in the normal world, and you need research from other independent researchers. And the different systems, for example, the prevention, what do you call it, SPR. You have different systems that are requiring rules for what is the evidence-based program, and they say something like you have to have at least 2 independent researchers doing the research in natural environment, for example. So it's lots of research that has to be done and takes a very long time. So, and many of these components, both the developmental part of it and the research part of it has been done. When we started with the program in Norway in 1998, it had lots of randomized studies from the program developer, but in addition it was an independent research program from Canada, another one from UK, and then we was coming from as a third independent research group, and then Denmark is coming, and then Sweden is coming. So now it is lots of independent researchers that have done RCTs, randomized trials, and they get approximately the same results. And then you can say this is a solid evidence-based program. So it takes lots of time, and it's very complicated. So we didn't even think about starting to develop a program out for ourselves when we had that high-quality program outside the doorstep.
Thank you. Paul Christian, you will add something?
Yeah, well, I think that was a very good answer explaining the reasons for choosing these programs. But I would like to add that we also are in processes of adapting and developing and conducting research on development of these programs suitable to Norwegian conditions. So it's not like if you first develop one parenting program for one age group, you are fixed to that model forever and it never develops, because a lot of these programs consist of components or modules coming from other programs, evidence-based modules, and you can assemble them or you can develop them and conduct research nationally as well as implementing program within what Willy Tore was talking about, flexibility within fidelity. And I think this is an important concept for development.
Willy Tore, you will
yeah, and in addition to that, I think it's important to say that Karen Webster-Stratton, the program developer, asked us very early if we need to adopt it, and in that case, what changes do we need to do? Well, we didn't need to do any changes except the language. You had to translate it. So it was exactly the same as as she had developed, and that's good. But after the years has gone through, we have close collaboration with her, and Norway and the other groups around the world using the program, coming up with ideas to modify and things like that. And that's good. But what we are doing is that we are always sending these IDs to the developer. We are not changing the program ourselves, because the developer could integrate the new IDs, and then she can do the research on it, and we can do the independent research on it. And this in this way of working means that the program looks differently now than it did in 1998 when we imported it. But we have contributed to the modifications, but she has done it, because she has to have the control over these things.
Ehk siis vanemlusprogrammi puhul ei pea kartma, et me toome sisse üks-ühele programmi ja seda ei saa muuta. See on kahesuunaline tee, et töö toimub koostöös ja loomulikult riikide vajadusi võetakse arvesse. Meil on nüüd aega paar minutit veel küsimusteks ja siis me annaks sõna Hannale, kes võtaks meie töö kokku. Et Signe tahtis midagi öelda ja kui kellelgi on veel, andke käega märku.
Ma lugesin ühte uuringut, mis käis küll Rootsi kohta ja seal oli siis seesama Incredible Years ja nende laste ja perede valik, keda programmi saata. Ja mis mulle sealt, uuringu eesmärk oli teine, aga mis mulle sealt silma torkas oli see, et laste puhul kasutati vähemalt 4 hindamisinstrumenti ja vanemate puhul, kes sinna koolitusse pääsesid veel 2. Tegemist oli raskete käitumishäiretega lastega muidugi. Ja hindajad olid lastepsühhiaatrid ja kliinilised psühholoogid. Et kui palju meil Eestis neid hindamisinstrumente täna üldse kasutusel on ja kuidas siis sellega lood on, et kui Eesti võtaks Incredible Years'i kasutusse, et kas, kui kergesti need asjad meile kätte tulevad, milline on seal koostöö ülikoolidega, et see on see asja üks pool ja see puudutab siis nüüd, ütleme, neid keerulisemaid programme, kus on spetsiifilised teenused, aga hinnata tuleb ju tegelikult ka seda nagu nii-öelda esmastaset, kui sotsiaaltöötaja suunab, et millised instrumendid hindamiseks temal siis on ja et kas saab ka nendele tuge või?
Kas see oli küsimus konkreetselt kellelegi? Et kas keegi teist soovib vastata sellele küsimusele? Anybody wants to add?
I can start. First of all, when it comes to Incredible Years, it is no assessment tools in the Incredible Years, except we have some working tools, checklists and things like that, that the therapists are using daily or weekly. But it's not any assessment tools. So actually an agency that's using Incredible Years can select what tools they want and what they have available in, for example, Estonia. But what we have done, I think it's important that you are measuring the level of behavior problems in the children. And it's different, several types of that, of assessment tools. For example, CBCL, probably you have the Achenbach here. It's all over the world, so probably you do have. And then that's okay. You have the CBCL, it's more and more specific, measuring the child problem behavior, which is it's translated to several languages, but probably not Estonia yet. It's very easy to translate it, only 36 questions, and should be very easy to do it. But principally, you can select what kind of assessment tools you want. And I think it's smart to have some tools directed to the children, to the child, and other systems, assessment tools directed to the parents. They have this PSOC, so they have the parents' sense of competence. It's a quite interesting assessment tool because it's measuring how the parents are feeling about their own competence as parents, and they're starting with the pre-data is very often very bad because they don't feel good as parents at all. And if we can improve that actually so that after the training they really feel good to be a parent, that's a very, very important change, for example. So to check what kind of assessment tools you have in Estonia, in the Estonian language, that's maybe the first step.
Yes.
And I'm always stressing the importance of developing and taking standardized assessment tools into use in different levels. We are in a process of standardization, establishing a national standard for use of assessment tools on specialized level. We don't have the authority to implement that or to develop that in the local level, as Signe asked, what about on municipal level? And I think this is one of the main challenges in the Child Welfare Act, because it talks about one of the objectives is to increase the quality of assessment and conducting investigations on local level, but it never states any place about a unified system for investigations or assessment on local level. And there I would like to go to Sweden and take a look at what they have done, because they have developed a system called BBIC, the Children's Need in the Center. It's a unified system implemented in all municipalities except for 5, which are so small they don't have child welfare cases. And they have this, they use the same tools, and they have the same tools on state level, deciding what kind of placement you do for each individual child. This is really a good system, but it took 13 years in Sweden from they first went to England and took a look at LACs and until they developed their own system and had it implemented in the municipalities. But they had a really good implementation strategy.
Mis puudutab hindamisvahendeid, siis 3. aprillil oli meil ka ümarlaud ülikoolide praktikute ja ka Norra kolleegide esindajatega koos, kus me otsustasime kokku pannagi töögruppi, kes kaardistab ära, millised hindamisvahendeid meil Eestis on olemas, kes on hindajad, mis tasanditele vaja hinnata ja milliseid vahendeid meil juurde on vaja. Et aeg on napp, et ma küll laseksin Karmenil seda kommenteerida, aga see oleks sel juhul väga lühike kommentaar, sest meil on üks küsimus veel ja siis me peame Hannal laskma töötoa kokku võtta, nii et kui sul on 1-2 lauset, mis sa soovid öelda? Ei tööta.
Ettevõtte töötab. Et tegelikkuses nii palju kui mina tean, siis sotsiaaltöötajatel kohalikul tasandil ei ole selliseid hindamise instrumente ja see ongi see küsimus, et väga lühike vastus ja see vajadus on väga suur. Ja muidugi siin tuleb eristada seda, et ma jääks sassi instrumente, mis on mõeldud psühholoogidele ja sotsiaaltöötajatele.
Minul on tegelikult mitte niivõrd küsimus kui kommentaar selle eelmise teema kohta. Ma tahtsin öelda, et välismaalt sisse ostetud ja välismaa malli järgi tehtud programmid sageli üks nende võludest kindlasti on see, et nad on nii-öelda uued ja läikivad. Aga samas pahatihti vaadatakse mööda ressurssidest, mis on juba riigis olemas ja mida saaks, kui mitte kasutada nende asemel, siis integreerida nende uute lähenemistega. Näiteks tänase päeva jooksul on päris mitu korda läbi jooksnud see teema on mainitud, et situatsiooni, kus lahutuse käigus lapsed saavad kannatada. Inimesed ei oska lastega käituda lahutuse käigus ja seetõttu see võib neile põhjustada täiesti korvamatut kahju. Ja Eestis on olemas perelepitus, väga robustne. On välja töötatud kutsestandard, sügisest hakatakse andma perelepitaja kutset, aga samas meil on aluskoolitus on tulemas, aga samas riigi toetus sellele on paraku täpselt 0 rahaliselt. Et jah, Sotsiaalministeerium toetab seda, Sotsiaalministeeriumi lehel on selle kohta infot, aga samas rahalist toetust sellele ei ole. Et ka neid kohalikke ressursse võiks kasutada ja integreerida.
Ehk siis küsimus selles, et kuivõrd võtta ikkagi mujalt maalt programme kasutusele. Ma küll tean, et Norras on ka lepitussüsteem, perelepitus on peredele minu teada tasuta, et see on riigi poolt makstud ja see on eraldiseisev teenus vanemlusprogrammidest, aga soovite äkki kommenteerida seda küsimust just Norra poole peal. Miks tuua läikiv programm maale, kui on olemasolevad teenused?
Yeah, if you have programs for yourself, that's fine. I mean, and you don't need to have any other things. Important thing is, of course, that that you have research that prove that it's working. If you don't have Estonian research that prove that it works, I think you should do that. I mean, it's good if you have already programs. Another thing it's important to say is that it's no programs that can cure everything. It's no program that can cure both, for example, the behavior problems in the children and depression in the children and anxiety in the children and things like that. It's different programs. It's a differentiation of programs. So when it's come to behavior problems, we had to select programs that it's targeting behavior problems in the children. And so it's not any sort of universal treatment system anymore. That was in old days, that was in Freud's days, that we are treating everything with one type of treatment. It's not like that anymore. It's differentiated treatment programs for different kind of problems.
Aitäh, et ma annaksin võib-olla Liile kommenteerimiseks sõna, et Lii on vanemate koolitusega otseselt tegelenud, et siin ilmselt tuleb eristada teenus sellele sihtrühmale, kes on lahutajad ja vanemlusprogramm vanemlike oskuste õpetamiseks, et need on kaks erinevat asja, nii et ma küsin Liilt, kas meil on olemas selline vanemlusprogramm, mis on tõenduspõhine Eestis ja mida me võiksime praegu edasi kasutada selle asemel, et tuua Incredible Years või Triple B Eestisse?
Jah, tõenduspõhisus eeldab seda, et on aastaid, kümneid uuritud, eks ju, ja selle koha pealt ma saan küll öelda, et ma ei tea, et oleks sellist programmi, mida oleks kümneid aastaid uuritud ja mille mõju oleks tõestatud. Meil on erinevaid teenuseid, mida me oleme aastaid pakkunud ja osasid neist on nii-öelda ise proovitud siis uurida seal juures, et kuidas selle mõju on, aga sellist teaduslikke pikaaegseid uuringuid meil ei ole. Ma tahtsin ennem öelda, et me hästi palju kuidagi mulle tundub, et räägime programmid, kõik saab alguse tegelikult sellest, et kes neid asju pakuvad. Ehk siis ükski programm tegelikult ei paranda, vaid need inimesed, need spetsialistid, need koolitajad, kes seda pakkuma hakkavad. Et see on nagu minu meelest kõige alus. Ärme seda inimfaktorit seal programmist rääkides, läikivast ja uuest programmist rääkides ära unusta. Ja need inimesed saame ikkagi olema, ma arvan, meie, kes me sellega tegeleda tahame, eks ju.
Okei, ma täname paneliste selle diskussiooni eest. Kahjuks meil rohkem kommentaarideks ja küsimusteks aega ei ole. Ja ma loodan, et me võtame selle 5 minutit üle aja, et Hanna võtaks töötoaga kokku, et ta on siin usinelt oma mõtteid koondanud, nii et ole hea, Hanna.
Aitäh! Mulle on antud väga raske ülesanne, sest et kogu see tänane päev on olnud väga sisukas ja pean tunnistama, et pool arutelu läks mul mööda, sest ma olin närvis, et mida tarka ma oskan siis kokkuvõtteks öelda. Aga tegelikult võiks ma oma kokkuvõttega tulla tagasi Anniki sissejuhatava ettekande juurde, kus ta mainis 3 mõistet. Ja tegelikult need 3 mõistet on kõlanud nii ettekandjate sõnavõttudes kui ka siin hilisemas arutelus. Ja need on ennetus, kvaliteet ja valdkondade ülene koostöö. Ja kui nüüd mõelda Paul Kristjani ettekande peale, siis ma tahaks loota, et meid ootavad ees samasugused muudatused nagu Norras 1997. aastal, kui neil oli sarnane konverents, kus laste ja peredega tegelevad inimesed tulid kokku, kui räägiti sellest, et nii nagu seni on toimetatud, enam edasi minna ei saa, sest paljud laste probleemid on süvenenud, kohalikud omavalitsused on jäänud üksi tihtipeale ja tuleb midagi ühiselt ette võtta. Norra otsustas peale seda konverentsi liikuda tõenduspõhiste sekkumiste pakkumise suunas ja mulle tundub, et ka Eesti on selle suuna võtnud, igatahes on ta seda teinud riskilaste ja noorte programmiga. Ja Eestile on ju kombeks õppida teiste riikide kogemustest ja eriti veel püüda teha seda kiiremini, aga nagu Paul Kristjan ka rõhutas, siis tegelikult on hästi oluline anda muudatustele aega ja teha oma valikuid targasti. Paul Kristjan tõigi välja need sammud, mida nemad 16 aasta jooksul on astunud, et jõuda sinna, kus nad praegu on. Et ühelt poolt on siis selleks vaja teatavat valmisolekut muudatusteks. Peaksid olema mingid eeskujud, millest inspiratsiooni saada, nii nagu nemad omal ajal võtsid eeskuju ka teiste riikide tõenduspõhistest programmidest, headest praktikatest. Seejärel on vaja riiklikku strateegiat, kus on kirjas selged suunad, tegevuskavad, põhimõtted. Lisaks mõttemaailma muudatusele on vaja ka organisatoorset muutust. Et siin on ka kõlanud märksõnad horisontaal ja vertikaal. Et kui me räägime sellest, et need erinevad tõenduspõhised programmid või ka muud teenused on horisontaal, mida me lastele ja peredele pakume, siis see horisontaal ei püsi niisama õhus. Selleks on vaja teatavat süsteemi, struktuuri ja see on ka üks see tegevus, mida me oleme just nimelt riskilaste ja noorte programmi raames ehitamas. Lisaks vertikaali loomisele on vaja ka pidevat kvaliteedi hoidmist ja muidugi kõigele sellele seadusandlikku raami. Nüüd kõlas hästi palju argumente, miks on hea kasutada tõenduspõhiseid programme ja miks me võiks ka kasutada siin teistes riikides välja töötatud mudeleid. Ühelt poolt kõige elementaarsem, mis välja toodi, on see, et tõenduspõhised programmid toimivad. Nende efektiivsust on hinnatud ja me saame kindlad olla selles, mis on antud programmi tulemused, kui me seda ka õigesti ellu viime. Teisalt nendesse programmidesse on pandud juba väga palju ajaressurssi. Ma arvan, Villitoore selgitus siin oli väga tabav, kui keeruline on jõuda sinna, et üks tõenduspõhine programm tõepoolest ellu viia. Teisalt jällegi, mida näitas meile Incredible Years'i vanemlusprogrammi ettekanne, et tihtipeale on sellised tõenduspõhised programmid ka kuluefektiivsed. Nii et siin ei ole tegemist mitte ainult eetilisuse aspektiga, et me pakume lastele ja peredele parimat, vaid meil on võimalik läbi selle hoida kokku ressursse ja need uuesti lastesse ja peredesse investeerida. Ja ometi tuleb siinkohal öelda, et tõenduspõhised sekkumised ei toimi iseenesest. Need tuleb ankurdada poliitilisse süsteemi, eri tasanditesse. Meil tuleb luua valmisolek kogu riigis selleks, et tõenduspõhised sekkumised ka päriselt toimiks. See valmisolek peab olema nii süsteemides kui ka inimeste mõtetes, hoiakutes. Ja siit me jõuame kohe kommunikatsioonini. Paul Kristjan mainis, et meil oleks vaja kommunikatsioonistrateegiat ja tal on tuline õigus. Ja me igaüks saame kaasa aidata sellele, et lastevanemates mitte tekitada hirmu tõenduspõhise vanemlusprogrammi ees. Olen lugenud, et see mõiste on paljudes juba judinaid tekitanud, aga siin taga on õilsad ideed. Ja siin saab tõepoolest panustada sotsiaaltöötaja, kui ta seda programmi tutvustab, poliitikakujundajad, teadlased ja samamoodi meedia, kellel ma usun on hästi suur roll selles, mida me laste ja perede heaks ära soovime teha. Nii, üks hetk ma vaatan, kas ma midagi unustasin. Jah, unustasin küll. Tahtsin öelda, et meil on suurepärane võimalus õppida Norra kuningriigi vigadest, sest Paul Kristjan lahkelt jagas meile ka neid kitsaskohti ja probleeme, mis neil ette on tulnud. Aga teisalt mõnikord on just nimelt vajadus need vead ise läbi teha. Võib-olla need ei ole vead, võib-olla see on üks etapp, et liikuda samm edasi. Ja seda öeldes mõtlen ma just nimelt konsultatsioonimeeskondade peale. Et kui nemad on jõudnud praegu sellisesse etappi, et võib-olla enam pole vajadust konsultatsioonimeeskondade järele, siis Eesti puhul ehk on meil vaja samamoodi need konsultatsioonimeeskonnad luua, see etapp läbida ja kui kohalikud omavalitsused on piisavalt tugevad, siis jõuda sinnamaani, et neid meeskondi enam vaja pole. Nii et tuleb jälgida seda, mis on need vead, mis tegemata jätta ja mis etapid kindlasti läbi tuleks käia. Aga ma saan aru, et minu aeg hakkab otsa lõppema ja lõpetuseks tahaksingi seda öelda, et ma arvan, et kõigi osapoolte panus selle programmi toimimisse on hästi oluline. Nii et heale koostööle lootma jättes. Aitäh!
Aitäh, Hanna, see oli küll väga hea ja ülevaatlik kokkuvõtte. Huvitav küll, kui me oleme rääkinud 3 tundi, siis sa suutsid selle 10 minutiga kõik ära öelda, et teinekord võib-olla saab paremini aega säästa. Aga enne me unustasime tänada oma paneliste ja ettekandjaid, et võib-olla teeks ühe suure aplausi Paul Kristjanile, Willi Toorele, Liigasvandikule ja Karmenile selle väga toreda vestluse eest. Et aitäh teile! Ja loomulikult soovin tänada kõiki teid, kes te olete meiega koos siin töötoas olnud, kaasa mõelnud küsimuste ja kommentaaride eest. Need olid tõeliselt asjalikud ja nüüd siis korraldajate poolne palve veel. Teil on tagasiside lehed mappide vahel. Paluti need jätta sinna laua peale registreerimise juures. Nii et täitke ka need ja kõigile siis mõnusat koosviibimist, mis siin siis samas kohe jätkub. Aitäh!